Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of I Like Art podcast. And it feels so good to be back and start this fall series of episodes. And I'm super honored, very excited, and delighted to share with you our guest today. Oh my goodness. I'm like a huge fan here and I just can't wait to get started. And I'm going to read a little bit about her before I get started. So, she is a multi-talented author, business owner, and graphic designer known for her captivating Grove Hollow series, which is an enthralling gothic paranormal journey. With intricate narratives, mysterious plot lines, and fantastical elements, she breathes new life into the paranormal romance genre, transporting readers to otherworldly realms. All of this true, by the way. Her attention to detail immerses readers in a world of secrets waiting to be unraveled, while her skilled characterization explores complex relationships and the transformative power of love. Fearlessly tackling profound themes, she invites reflection on the human condition and the enigmatic nature of life itself. Woo. Through her magnetic storytelling, she sets herself apart as an author to watch. True, 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 true. Leaving readers eagerly awaiting the next thrilling chapter in the Grove Hollow series. All of those are facts. And I am so excited to introduce you to Shelby Nicole McFadden. Thank you so much for being here on I Like Art podcast. How are you, Shelby?
I am doing good. I'm doing excellent. How are you?
I'm great. It is a dark and gloomy Tuesday night. It's a perfect night to talk about your new book series. And I'm one of the lucky people that got to read an advanced reader copy. Is that what an ARC is called?
That
Advanced
is what
readers
it's
copy.
called. Yep.
Yes. I
You
read
got
the
it
whole
right.
thing in like 2 days, maybe more than that, but I just could not put it down. And I still ordered a hard copy and it's so good. And I just can't wait to talk to you more about your book and other things that you do. So where do we even start? Let's start with the book itself. In your own words, how do you describe the Grove Hollow series?
So, in a nutshell, it is a gothic paranormal romance series. There's going to be 4 books total in the series. So, book one tackles the first part of the story of Jade, who's the female main character. And she moves in with her great aunt Ruth, who is this like eccentric, chain smoking alcoholic character who I loved deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in this gilded mansion that Jade had no idea even belonged in her family, let alone finding out that she came from this like affluent background. Like we're talking about like Vanderbilt, like rich history, American royalty. And so through this like discovery of her family and secrets and scandals that surround it, she also is like tackling a new private school and befriending these misfits. So we have this like, oh, the book is set in 1985, so we have these like
Mm-hmm.
edgy punk rock kind of friends, and then also she's like battling the social hierarchy of the the jocks and the cheerleaders, and she like catches the eye of the rugby captain Bradley Phillips, and she thinks
Mm-hmm.
she's falling in love, and all of this. So, up until this point, everything seems kind of normal teenage life, coming of age story, but she finds a cursed locket in the abandoned mansion next door that's connected to a ghost that's been haunting her named William Montgomery. And as she has been like, helping him going to the afterlife and figuring out this mission, this whole mystery behind the locket, she finds out that there's a connection between them that goes far beyond anything that she could ever imagine. And that's basically how to
Mm-hmm.
describe the story in a
I know.
nutshell.
And it's like, what happens next?
I
What
know.
happens next?
Oh,
Oh my
just wait,
goodness.
just wait.
I know.
It is a twisty story. That's all I'm going to say. It's a twisty story. There's
Ooh.
themes of death, reincarnation, greed, power, money, then love and friendship. So it's full of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of stuff, a lot of good stuff, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of mystery.
It's a very, yes, there are a lot of different themes that you threw together, not through, but are included, like the 80s and then the gothic and then the romance novel and the paranormal. And I was very curious. So I have been following you on Instagram, and you have a few Instagram accounts. And I remember when you started the Grove Hollow series Instagram page, and it's like,
Mhm.
ooh, what is she up to now? And you are so highly creative, which I love talking to you because you are so multi-passionate, and you created the cover art, and you've created mood boards and videos, and your Instagram for the page is so amazing. I even think after I read the book, it's like totally turns people in it. It's like not seeing the movie after reading the book, but kind of you get more of the visual parts of it. So
Yeah,
you're very, very
definitely.
visual, and it just brings the book to life even more. And it's like, oh, I can't wait to get my hard copy because I'm going to reread it. And I just love it so much. And I remember when you had that page come out, and putting you were kind of talking about the themes in the book, and then I was like, ancient Egyptian culture, like what? How do
Yeah.
you that's included too?
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot about
It's
that part.
amazing. Yeah, there's a little bit of Egypt in there.
Hmm.
It's just made me so super curious. I think you did such a brilliant job of kind of teasing all of that out until the book comes out. And it's I will say the way you pulled it all together, it's amazing. It's like, I don't even know how you come up with this, but maybe this leads into the next question because I heard you talking about it somewhere. But tell us about your childhood and how those experiences inspired you to write the book or the series. I love this so much.
Yeah, that was actually a huge part of the whole reason why I started writing this story. My house growing up was haunted. And for some reason, I think my family were just very open to those kind of experiences. My sisters, especially, we all kind of have a little something. And
Mm,
so my old house, I mean, I could talk about this for an hour. So I'm going to really try to like give you the
yeah, I'm
spark
like,
notes of it
tell me
all.
all the
Oh
story.
yeah, like we just need a podcast episode of just ghost
We
stories
do.
from my old house. But
Okay, cool. I'm in.
yeah, it's I mean we even found something even crazier about it like recently going through like archives of newspaper clippings and stuff. It's nuts. So long story short, my old house growing up was haunted, and it burned down in 1980 or 1994. My sister burnt it down on accident,
Oh,
which
she did?
later found she did, and it was a paranormal issue. She like had a lighter and it didn't go out, and she got scared and she threw it on the bed. You know, like the old lighters, you like flick it and then,
Mm-hmm.
they
Mm-hmm.
go out as soon as you stop touching it. So
Mm-hmm.
she threw it on the bed caught on fire, the whole house caught on fire. Well, we found out later on, like, I think like what, 6 months ago, we found out that the house that was built on the same property, and that house was already 100 years old, the one that burned down, 100, like almost 100 years prior, or something like that. A lady died in her bed that caught on fire. I think it was foul play from what we gathered. So not only did that house on the same property catch on fire through in the bedroom, the lady died in the bed, but then my sister burnt the house down by lighting my mom's bed on fire and everything. So that just like tells you just how creepy this house is. So my
Whoa.
parents ended up rebuilding on the property. We also had like, kids and just like creepy things happen, like
Mm,
kids talking and moving stuff
mm,
and whatever. And so fast forward, we rebuilt the house, and some weird things were happening here and there. Not a ton as much as the old one, but it was on the same property and everything. And I was at home from college. My sister was visiting, my older sister, and she's very spiritually gifted, I guess,
mm.
sensitive, I guess. So she woke up one night when I was visiting and I was at home with my parents, and she said that she saw a black figure or like a person staring at her from across the hallway, like the door was open. And so she was telling me this. We're like on a walk, and she's like, "Yeah, last night I woke up at like 3 a.m. and like there was someone standing on top of the steps looking at me in front of the window. Like I was paralyzed. I was like so scared, and I was like, you know what? I'm like so sick and tired of like being so scared visiting mom and dad. Like, why isn't it this like hot like Mr.
Mhm.
Darcy guy? Like if it was just some like really attractive guy that was standing in the hallway, like watching us or like, haunting us. I'd be setting my alarm at 3 a.m. I'd be wanting to see him. I'm like, it
Yeah.
would totally change the whole perspective. And so we were laughing about it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make this into a story one day. Like it just
Mm.
like stuck with me for years. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this was back in 2009, I think, or 2010.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like and it just like always stuck with me, this like idea of like falling in love with a ghost. And I hadn't really
Mm.
heard, we hadn't really like heard many stories of that. We've got like vampires and
Yeah.
shapeshifters. We heard it all, so ghosts
Mm-hmm.
have really not been, they haven't been like on the market. So
Mm-hmm.
when I started writing it, I wasn't sure how people would gravitate towards it, but I was like, whatever, I'm writing it. So that was really like the
Yeah.
inspiration of it all.
Oh my goodness. And you've held on to this idea for quite some time. I think that is really interesting to talk about. I'm all about ideas. I love talking about idea capture and how we can put some ideas on a shelf for later. So you've had this idea kind of marinating in your brain for a while, and now it's like, okay, it's time. How do you know when, because you're a mom, you have two children who are pretty young. How do you know when it's time to start? It's like that's a big project to take to add to your plate. I don't know how you do all the things that you do, but how do you give yourself permission to even start? I mean, what was the impetus to start this book like now?
So that's a really good question. And I have a really interesting story behind that. But as far as the permission goes, I mean, I think after quitting the 9 to 5 and just taking the risk of working for myself back in 2016, I mean, a risk to me doesn't feel like a fear anymore. It doesn't even feel like I need permission. It's, you have one life, you can do whatever you want. And that's the truth of it. Whether you have a degree in it or not, if it's something you're passionate about, you always have permission to do something. It's a disservice to the world. If you want to do something and you're passionate about it, you should just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so like this book has been in me. I've tried writing it. I've tried writing it a few times, and none of the plot lines were the same. Nothing really stuck with me. I wrote like 9 chapters back in like 2019 when my son was born.
Mm-hmm.
And there were a couple things I liked. And I'm really like such a nerd. I really love like the Gilded Age. I love that
Mm.
kind of history that was involved in the families. And I'm like, I love Gloria Vanderbilt. I've watched so many documentaries about her and her whole family. And just because, America's so, I don't want to say it's new because it's not new at all. It's
Mm-hmm.
that has its own history in of itself. But as far as like, we don't have like a monarchy. We never had a monarchy or anything like that. So this was kind of like, in our way, like American royalty was like the Vanderbilts
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And then when you dig deeper, you're like, ooh, it's like there's a lot that went in there with those families and everything. But so I always really gravitated towards that, and I always loved the 80s. And
Mm. Mm-hmm.
and I knew when I wrote the first draft in 2019, I had it in present tense, like the present time.
Mm.
And
Interesting.
yeah, and I did not like the texting. I didn't like how easy it was to look up stuff. And I just like didn't gravitate towards it. But I knew I wanted Gilded Mansions or something like Newport, Rhode Island or something of that sort. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I have a friend who's she doesn't like to be called psychic, but she's like gifted. She's very intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
She predicted my daughter. She like the month, the gender, everything. She
Mm-hmm.
has told me things that have just come true. And this was during the pandemic. I had called her and everything. And I had this like thing in my mind. I was like, I just want to write this book. I just want to write it. My daughter was born. We just moved to Pennsylvania. And I'm like, is now the time? Like, I don't know. It just feels like a lot's going on. But I just really felt like I was like, I want to write this book. So anyway, long story short, called her up and she was like, yeah, she's like, this is it. This is the time to write it. So that sounds very cliche, right? Okay, now's the time. Like anyone could say that. But she was
Mm-hmm.
like, and I was like, well, I've only had 2 like creative writing classes. I'm not a
Mm-hmm.
writer. I'm an artist. I've always been labeled as that. So can I do this? I felt like huge imposter
Mm-hmm.
syndrome. And
Mhm.
I was like, do I outline the book? Like, I don't, it just feels like so intimidating. And she's like, don't.
Mhm.
And she told me, she's like, just write it fluidly. Just write it. Write, like, don't outline anything, just write. And she's like, everything will come to you. And
Mm.
she was right. She was 100% right. And she was even like hearing the Breakfast Club song. She's like, why am I hearing
Mhm.
this song in my head? Don't you
Oh.
forget about me? Yeah. And I was like, well, I really want it to be in the 80s because I'm obsessed with the 80s, but I just didn't think anybody would gravitate towards that because, everyone's into
Mhm.
like contemporary stuff. And she was like, no, she's like, they're saying remix, write it in the 80s, and it'll all make sense. Well, the Gilded Age was, between I think like 1860s and 1890s. So like
Mm.
1885 and 1985 are 100 years apart. And I was like,
Mhm.
perfect, we're going with it. So that's
Mm.
and then I gave myself permission and worked any chance I had. So
Mm. Oh my goodness. Okay. I love this. There was so much to unpack.
I
I could
know.
tell. I don't know if part of it was because I was following your social media, but there are definitely movie influences that I picked up from that I loved from reading your book. The Breakfast Club was definitely one of them, one of my
Hmm.
all-time favorite movies. There's definitely a Jake Ryan moment from Pretty in Pink with the birthday cake.
Oh,
And it's
16
not like
Candles. Yes.
16
Yeah.
candles. That's what I meant.
It's all
16
John
candles.
Hughes. Same thing.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Breakfast Club and 16 Candles were like my favorite movies in high school. So yeah, that whole scene with like the birthday cake, I felt like, okay, that's a nod to that.
Hmm.
And oh, what else? Just like the whole like Rat Pack. I didn't know if Stranger Things had a part in it. If you're into that series, how it's kind of like
Yeah. Oh my
80.
gosh. That's my comfort binging show. Like I binge it
Okay.
twice a year. But yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
kids and I remember I was like it was during the one chapter where she goes to the bookstore and the kids are
Mm-hmm.
like talking about parallel universes and I was like, "Oh, I'm getting like Stranger Things vibes." And
Yes.
anytime even just like in real life when I see like kids on a bike outside, especially in the
Mhm. Yes.
summertime. And I'm
Yeah.
playing music in my car and I'm like, oh, it's a coming of age like story. Like I can
Yeah.
just see these kids on the bikes and they're like running away.
Yeah.
So that to me was like that little nod to that. It was very subtle, but
Mhm. Oh, I love
yeah.
that. Oh, that's so good. And E.T. and
Hmm.
I even was thinking with it was like the 80s pop culture references reminded me of Gilmore Girls. How, I don't know if you're into
I love
Gilmore
that show.
Girls, but the
Yes,
whole,
I am.
yeah, the whole like characterization of the town and how that place, it's like in the East and it's this like really like very picturesque little town and everybody knows each other. And then all the pop references to the 80s reminded me of Gilmore Girls, how they do that. And I'm like, oh, this is super cool. So actually, while I was reading your book, I was just listening to 80s music and just really enjoying kind of being back to that
I love
time. It's
that.
so fun. Yeah.
I
So I
love
think that
that.
it's just, yeah, I think it's my kids right now are all about the 90s. So I thought it was really cool to even go back to the 80s because the 80s are super fun. And
Oh
then I
yeah.
definitely thought there was a nod to the movie Ghost, a
Yes.
Patrick
Yep.
Swayze moment
Hmm.
where, yes, it's
I
like I
think I
don't
know
want
what
to
you're talking.
spoil.
I
Yeah,
know, I know, I know, I know what you're talking about.
I know. Yes, you know. And I'm like, I know this is like so fun because I love that. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of a scene in the movie Ghost. Anyway, so I just love how you've tied those things into this fantasy place and you've made it your own and these characters, you get to know them. And also one thing I loved about your book is the the beginning of each chapter, how they have an illustration very similar to like the Harry Potter series, which I always thought was so cool. And I'm not saying like these are just like really cool nods to these different amazing things that, so I just thought, oh,
It's
that's so cool.
nostalgic. It's nostalgic.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
little,
I love that.
and that's why I did it in the 80s. It's like for me, I'm an 80s hybrid, so I'm like 80s and 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I grew up with both, and I have two older sisters who are like, I think they're hitting 40 or they are 40.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I grew up, I remember VHS tapes. I remember cassette
Mhm.
tape. I remember the whole thing. And, I was obsessed with Labyrinth. I was obsessed with
Yes.
Return to Oz, and those things, even now, I still watch those things because it's
Mhm.
nostalgic and it does bring something out of you. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I'm glad that you caught those references. They
I
were
know.
they were
It's
really
fun to
fun.
read that because it is like a throwback. And it's also highlights a very simple time where it's like the kids we didn't have that technology back then, and navigating, looking something up, and you can't just pull out your phone and like Google it, whatever. You actually have to go somewhere and like
You have to go to the
look at
library. You have to use the Dewey Decimal System, and you have to understand how
right.
that works. And what else is there? That was part of the reason why I loved the 80s and writing it, is because it was like the technology wasn't quite good enough yet, but it was like had this vibe to it. Like everything's just big and bulky and tons of buttons and everything. And I didn't want Will or Jade to have access to anything. Like, I remember just even growing up, like give like a phone call to the town next over. It was like it cost a crap ton of money, and all my family's from New England. So we could
Mm,
never like call them or anything, or it had to be like once a month, and you knew it was going to be
mhm,
expensive. So these like long distance phone calls, it's kind of like a hard, it's kind of hard. Not everybody made them, so you had to write letters. Um,
mhm,
and so I think because of that, that added to the mystery, it slowed things down. It wasn't just, it added a little bit of romance to it in its own
mhm,
way. And
mhm,
that was like one of the big reasons why I was like, I don't want it to be in 2023. I don't want it to be easy for them to find information. Don't want them to Google anything. I want
mhm,
them to like search. I want them to come to like these dead ends, and then have these epiphany moments. So that was really important to
mhm.
me.
I love that. And I will say, because you're an artist, because you are so incredibly visual, you are a graphic designer and you have illustrations and you do lots of things, the way that you write is very reflective of that. And I just really enjoyed reading the descriptions because it's like J.K. Rowling and how she described, I will never forget this, but reading her series and how everything in her book was like this completely different world. And you can then watching the movie and realizing how similar it's like exactly how you picture it in the book. So I think you do such a great job. That's definitely, I would say, a gift of an artist with an eye is that you put value in all of those details.
Yeah.
And so I will say, for somebody who's a visual artist like myself, it not only shows me how cool it is when a visual person writes, and how more enriched that writing can be, but it also shows that it's possible. So it's kind of a double cool thing. And I really enjoyed that about your story because originally, so truthfully, I read a lot. I read a lot of self-help, genre type books. And it was just such a really great respite from that. And I would say paranormal, gothic, romance, like those three things I typically would not pick up. I have read a couple of the Twilight books, but I just I didn't love the whole vampire scene. I don't know. And I thought, well, I know Shelby and I'm really interested because she's done all these great teasers. And it's like, yeah, I want to read it just because I know you and I'm excited about your project. And it just really showed me that it doesn't really matter what the genre is. It's all about the storytelling. And, this could have be taken place on a different planet and it would still be very interesting. So, I don't know if I'm making any sense now, but
No,
I'm just
that
saying,
definitely makes sense because I'm very picky. I'm very picky when it comes to reading. So
mhm,
I know exactly what you mean. I mean, I don't even think I would pick up a gothic paranormal romance. Like if like I read, I mean, I don't know if you can see my books behind me, but I read like grocery store bodice rippers and like the ones that my mom gave me with like the Duke and and
nice.
the girl with the castles and
Mhm,
everything. Like that to
mhm,
me is like what I gravitate towards.
mhm,
Or, just plain romance, nothing really contemporary, but like kind of
mhm,
historical. So, and I read Twilight. I'm not into vampires or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm kind of there with you. And like I love
Mm.
Rebecca. Actually I did used to I really do love gothic romance novels. So that's probably why I gravitated towards the gothic side. But as far as the
Mm-hmm.
paranormal side, that was just a fluke because I really wanted to write about a ghost,
Uh-huh.
and it was really interesting to me because I do love like Halloween and paranormal stuff. So I know what you mean. It's interesting. It's all very subjective,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it also just depends on how it's laid out visually through words.
Mm-hmm. It's a storytelling. It's so good. Okay. I have so many questions. You probably read this and you're like, I need to take a nap. This is
No,
ridiculous.
my gosh, no, I did not.
Okay, you already answered a few of these. So, what was your favorite part about creating this series? It's truly a labor of love, and you are an indie publisher. We can talk about that in a minute, but what was your favorite part?
um, you know, it was probably, I don't even know if it's like a part, maybe it's more of a process. Um, for me, so I used to, like as a little girl, I used to fall asleep to music and just kind of make up movies in my head or like story tell.
Mm,
And it was just all visual in my head. And sometimes it was me, sometimes it was other people, but it's always to music. And so I mean, I've been doing this since I was a kid, like literally the cassette tape, like with my earphones and everything going to bed. And I had this whole story kind of in my head as a movie. And I think the coolest part for me was figuring out through words how to express what I'm seeing. Like I can do that with paint, I can do that with design, but now here's a whole new medium,
mm-hmm,
words, and
mm-hmm,
like how do I describe, how am I going to describe it? How can I have the reader, how do I get them engaged and see what I'm seeing? Because as much as I would love to just make this a movie, I can't do that. So I have to describe it in ways, and I have to show feeling, and I have to break this character down who I've been obsessed with. Like I'm obsessed with both Jade and Will. I think about them like all day, every day, the whole series. So it's like, it's like putting the pieces together. I think that was the coolest part, was like I said, just like putting the puzzle together. How can I visually lay this out? How, and it's just like the whole process of it. Like I really fell in love with writing. That I guess is my favorite part. I
wow,
don't
yay,
think this is something I will not do anymore. I think I love it more than design at this point. So that was really
wow,
cool. Hmm.
what a cool surprise, right?
Yeah, it
I,
was.
I'm surprised by your answer because I've heard writers say how much they hate writing. It's like it's the most painful thing ever. And it's really refreshing to hear you say that you enjoy that and that was the best part. I would have thought that you would have liked the illustration part just from me not knowing you well enough. I don't know, the because I think the visual, you create the cover and the art and you
Oh
have
yeah.
merchandise and all of that. I mean, your creativity just keeps going with, your marketing and all of that. It's just a really inspiring, really cool thing to see unfold.
It's
Um,
just like the experience, I think, is what it is. It's like you create the whole experience, like making it like immersive in its own
mhm,
way. So
mhm. Now, when you decided to create this book, did you know you were going to go the indie route, or did you want to pitch to publishers, or did you? How did that kind of unfold?
um so this is horrible to say this and admit it, but I'm sure I'm not the only one. But I was like, I'm not going indie. I'm going to go traditional publishing. If I don't, I fail. Like I'm horrible at writing. If nobody likes it, then this is it, you know. Um, or like, I'm only gonna do it this route because then it's like validation for me that it's a good book.
Hmm.
But um, as I was querying, and I didn't even query that long either, um, I started getting I started getting letters back, and they were rejections. And honestly, none of them understood, like they didn't understand. I guess, the paranormal route that I was going because,
Mm-hmm.
ghosts aren't very popular. And I
Mm-hmm.
can see why that would be a risk. Like, I totally understand. You have to
Mm-hmm.
sell a book. It's all about money. It's all about the market, what people want.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't really wanting ghosts right now. They want vampires. They want shapeshifters. They want they want dragons. And I don't have any of those things. So, I started getting a little discouraged because I was like, well, I want to make sure that whoever gets this book, that they get it. Like they
Mm-hmm.
understand my vision, they understand why I'm going this route with 80s and the
Mm-hmm.
gothic paranormal, etc. And there's one agent who she actually really loved gothic romance novels, and I was reading her bio, and her and I like I grew up with the ones that she really loved, like Phyllis Whitney and Victoria Holt. So I was like, oh, if she's perfect, like she'll get it, she will understand like my vision and everything. And I just remember, at this point, I had been talking to like a couple people who either knew somebody who went the traditional route or like they had gone through the traditional route. And I was starting to get really discouraged because they're like, well, you're not going to have any control like over anything. And they're going to chop your book up. And it could be because of budgetary issues. Like they might have to cut out subplots. They might, for the word count and everything to drop
Mm-hmm.
all this stuff. And they both had terrible experiences. They said by the end of by the end of the book, by the time it was published, it just didn't really feel like their book anymore. So I
Mm.
was like, well, wait a minute here. Like, I'm a
Yeah.
control freak, especially over my own projects. Like, maybe I'm stubborn, maybe I'm naive, I don't know. But, I was like, there's no way someone's designing my cover. There's no way I can't have any creative influence. I mean, I wrote a book and I'm a
Mm-hmm.
designer. Like, what do you mean? Like, I can't have a say over the cover. And not only that, but I was like, there's no way someone's like getting rid of a subplot. I need them all because everything's
Mm-hmm.
like a puzzle piece through the entire series. And my word count was like 110,000 words or something like that. So it was on the higher end. So it was all a risk.
Mm-hmm.
And so the one night I was like, if I hear back from this agent that I really like, if she doesn't get the idea, if she says she's not a good fit or the story's not a good fit for the market, then that's it. I'm going to go the indie route. I've published a million magazines. I've published books through, my old jobs. I understand layout and formatting. I've got the background. I could do marketing, all that stuff. Plus I already have my covers. So I was like, I can do this. I really can. I know
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be a crap ton of work, but I can do it. And that night I heard that I got the rejection from her. And I was like, well, that's
Mm-hmm.
not a sign, then I don't know what is. And I'm
Mm.
so happy I did because my editor, Friel, is just she's freaking amazing. She got it. Like she got it. And she was just like the best person. I was like, I couldn't imagine having anyone else on my team but her. She's just the best. So
Mm.
that it was all worth it.
Amazing. Okay. Ooh, and you are in the process of promoting this book. So tell us the details about when it officially comes out and all of the things, like
So it
your
officially
launch
comes
party and all
out.
that. Hmm?
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. So it comes out officially October 1st, and I'm going to have a book launch party. It's in my hometown, like hotel bar, but it's like the coolest hotel. It's haunted. It's from the
Mm,
Victorian era, and I think it was like built in 1810, or something
okay.
like that. So it's old. It fits right in. It's haunted. They have great food. Great drinks and everything. That's October 21st. And I have a psychic coming. She's doing tarot readings, and then I also have another person who's kind of psychic intuitive, and they're doing like palmistry and crystal ball readings. So I'm like, it'll be so fun. I'm like, everyone can get their tarot cards read. They can have drinks, free food, book signings. Like it's October, so it's just
Hmm.
like everything you could ask for in a book launch.
Oh, that sounds awesome. I wish I could go. I
I
wish
wish
I
you could
could.
do.
I wish I could just drive there. And then the book officially comes out on what date?
October 1st.
Okay, yes. So people can pre-order there, and we'll have links to pre-order. You can go check it out and write a review when you get the book, and just let Shelby know how much you love it. You're already getting really, really good reviews back, which is really fun to
I
read. And you're
know.
already getting fan is
Fan
it
art.
yes.
And someone's like, another person reached out. They're like, "Do you mind if I create like an outfit for like I don't know if it's like Comic-Con or something or
Mm,
cosplay." That's what it is, cosplay. They're like, "Do you mind if I do like a Jade cosplay?" And I was like, "Oh my, yeah, I don't care. This is amazing." I was like, "I'm getting fan art." Like that to me is like the best. That is the
yeah.
best. I mean,
Ugh,
I imagine J.K. Rowling probably like swooned when everyone was writing like Hermione and Draco Malfoy like fanfics, like I would be
yeah.
just over the moon. I'm like, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I
Yes.
welcome it. How
That has to
awesome.
be so cool to see all of that art coming in and inspiration, and oh my goodness. Oh, I love it so much. Okay, here's a question I want to ask you. What is your, because I think it's important to say it out loud as far as you're comfortable. Like, what's your dream or what's your goal with this series? Like, what would just light your heart on fire as far as like how I mean, I feel like you have this is like a what I call passion project where you don't
Mhm.
have a client paying you up front for it. You don't have the definite, like, if I make a painting, I know somebody eventually will probably buy it, but this is like more risk, like you said. But what is your, like, what would be amazing? Like, what's your hope and what's the dream with the series? Like, what do you envision?
So this is more of like my manifesting, I think. But
Mhm.
um so uh, I mean, first of all, I would just love for everyone in general to love the series. I think it is very unique, which is really
Mhm. It
exciting.
is.
And it's something that I don't think has been done very much.
Mhm.
So that in of itself is really, really cool. But I think my end goal, what I would love to do, and this is in my like manifestation board, is
Mhm.
that I want to help produce it. I want it to be like a series. And
Oh.
I have already had discussions where I'm like, I would move to California if I had to be a part of the production team, whatever. But I mean, it sounds far-fetched, but it
Mhm.
kind of doesn't at the same time because
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote a book and I also like manifested designing like a huge restaurant when I was like pregnant with my son. And I've
Mhm.
never designed a restaurant before and it turned out freaking awesome. So,
Mm.
I've done all sorts of stuff. So for me, I'm like, maybe it's
Why
far
not?
fetched or yeah, why not?
I could
So,
see it as a TV series. Yes. Oh, it would be really good. It'd be
yeah,
really, really
it would
juicy.
be. So that's
Ah.
like my big goal. At
Mhm.
least pitching it. I won't stop at that. I will definitely be pitching it once the whole series is done. If
Mhm.
depending on where it goes. So,
Are you working on the second book?
yes. Yep, I already have 5 chapters or 6 chapters written.
Okay. Do you
Mhm.
know do you know how the series is gonna end?
Yes. I know
Yes.
I know the very last chapter. I know
Okay.
actually the last 2 chapters especially, but I know everything. There's like little tiny like things that obviously you don't know till you're writing it, but
Mhm.
the entire story, yeah, yeah. I like down to the last chapter, the epilogue too. So
But you don't have it outlined.
no, my mom asked me that. She's like, "Do you have this all like down on paper? How do you remember it?" And I do this all the time. Like I I don't know why I do this, but I have everything in my head and
Mhm.
I think about it all the time, but I was like, I really should write this down just in case if like, I don't know, something happens and I lose my memory or something. But I mean it's all there. I don't forget
Mhm.
anything, knock on wood, but I am actually I just found like an outlining software. So I'm like, all right, I need to at least do that.
Mhm.
Because who knows, maybe something will pop up in my head and I'll add it while I'm doing
Mhm.
it. So
Oh, interesting.
mhm.
Oh, the whole writing process just really fascinates me. I think it's so
Mhm.
cool. Okay. We It's like, I just want to keep asking you. If you have any advice for someone who wants to try something new, a creative endeavor such as this, maybe it's an idea that won't leave them alone, what would you tell them? If someone said,
If
"Hey,
it's
Shelby,
something,
I really want to do this thing."
so I've had people ask me that, and I've kind of become mentors for them, which has been really awesome.
Mm,
Um, but and I always say, if it's something that's been nagging at you, it's probably something, and you can't stop thinking about it, especially it's there for a reason. Um, if it's something you feel passionate about, us putting fear aside, if it's something that you could really see yourself doing, um, because the fear is going to transform into something else eventually. Like it's going to be scary at first. Like writing a book was scary at first, but now I'm like, that fear kind of transforms, or you use it as motivation. But if it is something that you've been thinking about for a really long time and you want to give it a go, just do it. Just start. You don't need anyone's permission. There's going to be naysayers. There's going to be people doubting you. There will be people supporting you. So I say just do it because, especially if you're talented or if it's something you're passionate about, then it's there for a reason.
mhm. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Do you have anything else you want to say as far as the series goes? Like anything I didn't hit on that you want to say or
Um, I mean, if this speaks to you, if it's something you're interested in and you know anybody who likes it, likes the same kind of things like 80s ghosts, tarot cards, John Hughes movies, 80s alternative music, whatever, Gilded Age Victorian stuff. If that's something that speaks to you, check out my book or tell someone that you know that likes those things. So
yes.
that's all I have to say about that.
Right. I mean, I think at this point, as far as helping support you, obviously, buying the book is supportive, but also talking about it, sharing it, letting other people know about it is huge.
Yeah,
So,
especially for indie authors. If there's an indie author in general that you like or you like a book, the best way, I mean, we learned this in advertising, word of mouth travels fastest. So talk about it, write reviews, whether it's my book or another indie author's book. That's just one way to support someone, and it's free. You can just talk about
mhm,
it.
yes. All right. What if someone becomes a super fan and they can't get enough? When does the next book come out?
Super fan. Let's see. The next book, it's going to come out. I'm shooting for next year around the same time. Probably
Okay.
probably closer to like the winter time. It just all
Hmm.
depends on how things go. Um, Depends if I can get my daughter into daycare. Because right now
Hmm.
she's like missing naps and I'm like, I need those naps. But
Yeah.
yeah, so but that's what I'm shooting for. And I mean, that's as much as I can give right now. So probably same time
Hmm.
next year.
Okay. I know it's like I can't imagine creating something and then having to do all of the work of the launching of the book and the promoting. And I hope you get to take a little mini vacation afterward. And
I am. I'm actually going to was that Asheville, North Carolina in November. I
nice.
booked it. My friend lives there, and that's where the Biltmore Mansion is, which is
Yes.
the Vanderbilt Mansion. I've never
Hmm.
been. It's like on the top of my list. And then
Hmm.
we're gonna go hiking because the mountains there are just like insane. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. So I'm like, I need to be outdoors. I want to see some huge mansions, have some wine, no kids. I'm
Hmm.
ready. I cannot wait for October 1st. It's been really busy.
Yeah. You've done such a great job. I feel like you're
Thank
so
you.
good at promoting, and I just love following you and seeing all of the things come out about the book. I don't even know how you create the things that you create, even the videos. It's just so cool and I love
Thank
it.
you.
And then you also have other, we can touch on this quickly. You also are a designer and you have other product lines that are out that are so different and awesome too. So you want to talk about those? Let us
Sure.
know.
So, Moonrise Menagerie is like my tarot card, like positive thinking, good mantra kind of stuff. It's just kind of came out of nowhere. People really love it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'm really happy to be able to provide that kind of content for people.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like my, I wouldn't say spiritual, but it's just like a, hey, let's feel good kind of account.
Yeah.
And I enjoy the content. I like
Mm-hmm.
the illustration style. And then Fugly Barbie is my it's my
Yes.
baby. I love that shop so much. And the people, I love the people. So that's like a, I don't even know how to describe it. It is literally everything I love in a shop, which is like romance novels and horror stuff. It's like both my personalities on shirts
Mm-hmm.
and merchandise. So if you're a bookish person or if you just really love like horror, gothic kind of
Mm-hmm.
things, it's all there. And then there's like
Mm-hmm.
weird things sprinkled in. So that's
Mm-hmm.
Fugly Barbie.
Yeah.
That's
We'll have to
my
put links to
baby.
all of the things. And you sell out of it. Is it an Etsy shop or you have a website? Something.
Just they're both Etsy.
Okay.
But yep, yep.
Awesome. I know. Everything is so fun and I just love it. It's like,
Thank you.
yeah, it's like your personality. And I love that you follow your muse. It's like, I'm really into this, so I'm going to make my art about this. And it's just super
Yeah.
cool. So,
Oh yeah. I've had doubters. I've had people tell me to not do those things, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna do what I want to do, and I'm glad I did it because I've met so many awesome people through the process. So,
mhm. Amazing. Okay. I have a rapid fire round of questions. Do you have
oh
time?
yeah, yeah, I
Just
do.
just for funsies. No judgment. I'm just so curious. I need to know.
Okay.
Okay, to start out with, what is your favorite color?
Oh gosh, I was just thinking about this today. It's like either pink or black because that's all I wear. Um,
Okay.
Pink. Oh wait, black.
What
Pink and black. Can it
pink
be
and
two?
black?
It has to be two.
What
It
shade of
depends on my
pink?
mood.
Yeah.
This like blush color. And my
Okay, like
pants
light
are
pink.
like black. So yeah.
Nice. I love pink and black. Good, great combo. Great
It's
combo.
probably why I like The Cure so much. It's like their
Yeah.
kind of music.
Yeah, totally. Work beverage of choice.
Work beverage?
Yeah, like when you're working or when you're writing. Let's
Oh,
say when you're writing your book, what do you sip on?
coffee. It's my
Okay.
go-to. I can't drink.
Nice.
I would love to drink like wine, but I
Mm-hmm.
would not be productive. I would just be
Right.
sleepy. So it's coffee.
Okay. Same. What do you like your coffee like black? Do you put creamer in it? What do you do?
Yeah, I'm a cream and sugar person.
Okay.
People, the
Yum.
snobby people are like, you're not cool unless you drink it black. But I
Hey,
mean, I like it. I like the
you
spunkiness of all different like
yeah.
creamer flavors.
No haters. A coffee
No
of all
haters.
shades. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've been talking a lot about the 80s, but is there a book or a movie mention you want to bring up just because you love either or top of mind?
Um, I mean, oh my God, I haven't read or watched any movies recently other than The Summer I Turned Pretty. That's probably the last
Okay.
thing I watched.
Okay.
So, I'm just like a huge Harry Potter, Stranger Things fan. That's pretty much it.
Me too. Have you been to Harry Potter World?
Yes, once, and it was
Oh,
before. Now we need another hour just to talk about this, but it was just it was before Diagon Alley was like a thing.
what?
So I have to go back. I know, but I did ride the actual Harry Potter train in Scotland when I was 16, before it was like
Oh,
big and
that's
crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Do they have the platform 9 3/4, the fake one?
When I went to,
Or
well,
no,
so the
that's in
train,
London.
that's in London. The train
Yeah.
goes
This
from
is
Mali to Fort
Scotland.
William, and I took
Okay.
that there to go to Skye, and it was awesome.
Okay. I went to Harry Potter World last summer, but I was with my 3 kids and I was like, You don't want to go in every shop?" And like all the shops have the same merchandise, right? But I don't
I know,
care.
but it doesn't
I just want
matter.
to look at the walls. I just want
Me
to look at
too.
the
You want to look at the details and
I want to look at the
everything.
woodworking and the light
Yes.
fixtures. I want to eat at all the little food places and no, they just want to go on to Back to the Future or whatever was there. I'm like Jurassic World. That was cool, but
That was cool. Yeah, that's
I feel
cool.
like I need to go back, but like which people
Yeah.
actually appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, my sister lives in Florida, and I'm like, I would totally be like one of those Harry Potter or Disney World adults. I know I
Mhm,
would. I would if I could
mhm.
afford it, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Goals. When you hit
goals.
it, yeah. When you hit it big, when I sell a bunch of art, we can go on a Harry Potter trip. I know of a couple art queens that would probably go.
Oh my gosh, yes, we can do they do like almost
Like a
like a
field.
bar crawl, but like I don't know what they would call it in Harry Potter world. We just got to stop at every single thing.
Yeah, it's like a field trip.
Yeah,
I
I would
know Kat
totally
would
dress
go.
up too. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
well,
definitely.
dressing up, yes, unless it's hot out, but
Yeah, then we can't wear the capes. We'd be sweating. And it's always hot in Florida.
yeah. Okay. I'm excited. I don't even know why. All right. Where do you get your ideas or inspiration?
That just comes from just random stuff I'm interested in. I'm a huge nerd, so I'm like constantly reading. Like I
Mm,
do read books and everything, but I'm like, I'm just reading. Like I got really into like quantum physics recently. So I'm
cool.
like
That's
reading
so
all about
cool.
that. Oh, it is. It's
Yeah.
fascinating. So I'm like deep diving at night. I'm supposed to be going to bed and it's like
Yeah.
1 a.m. and I'm like learning about quantum theories
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. And I'm like, so I'm just, yeah, I don't know. I really like conversation. I like learning
Mm-hmm.
about stuff. So
Mm-hmm.
not no like topic or anything is like off limits for me. So
Mm.
there's that. And then my parents are antique dealers, so I've just always been interested in like
Oh,
history and stuff. So
that's
um
cool.
yeah, so
Okay.
I like learning, I like
Mm-hmm.
reading about stuff. So
Oh,
that's
that's
probably where
I
most
love
of
that.
it comes from.
Okay.
And movies.
Yeah, movies. I can see all
Movies.
of this inspiration for you. I love that. Okay, if you were, do you still have time? Okay. Do
Mhm.
you there if how do I phrase this? I have people tell me all the time, like, I wish I was good at art, blah, blah, blah. Well, spoiler alert, artists also wish they were good at other things too. Like, I wish I was good at volleyball. Never will happen. My husband, he's good at all sports, so it's kind of funny. But is there something that you wish you were good at, but you're not?
I mean, my best friend just told me I make the worst margaritas, so that made me sad. But
Hmm.
if there's something I'm good at but not, um, see, here's the thing. I have something to say to that. So when people are like, I'm not good at art, I can't be an artist. Well, there's people like, I don't know if you know who Tara Booth is. She's an
Hmm.
artist and I love her. So I hope I don't like, and I don't know if she'll ever hear this, but she draws like a preschooler, but her content
Hmm.
is so funny. And I'm like,
Mm.
it just depends on how you express yourself. Like there's
Yeah.
artists that literally draw like preschoolers and I'm
Yeah.
obsessed with their work.
Hmm.
So I think you can
Oh
always
yeah.
get better at something. I mean,
Yeah.
if I really wanted to be good at margaritas, I would just follow a recipe probably. But um actually I think my self-confidence, I think I'm like gradually getting better at that. So that's probably
Mm.
one thing I want to be really good at is just
Okay.
feeling, yeah.
I love
Sometimes
that.
I can feel a little like not confident, but
Okay.
um
That's a good answer. I really like
yeah.
that. And I
Yeah.
like your answer about art. I agree. I think
Yeah.
everybody, it's like, I'm
I
not a
think
marathon runner, but I'll put on a pair of shoes and go for a run. Doesn't mean I
yeah.
can't run. Yes.
Right, right. And my sister draws horribly, but I will ask her, "Can you please draw me a horse?" And it'll make me smile. Like
Hmm.
some people, like I can't think like her. I can't draw a horse like she does, and it's horrible. But that is the
Okay.
talent. So I'm like, you know what? Anyone can do anything. You can, and
Right.
it just because you think it's bad might not look bad to someone else. So,
And I will say, as far as along this thread, when you started writing, did you feel like this is going to be really bad for a while?
oh
You
my
know what I
gosh,
mean?
yeah, yeah, the first draft sucks anyway. It's just
Hmm.
literally just get everything off on the table or out on the table. But um I mean, I was terrified. Yeah, I was like, I don't know. I've always been labeled an artist. So when you're finally getting out of this box and you
Hmm.
want like I just really wanted to see how far I could stretch my imagination.
Hmm.
And so when I first started that, I was like, I just want to see like what are the boundaries? Are there boundaries or can I like use this medium and see how far I can stretch it. Because my imagination is probably like my favorite thing about myself, and
Mm-hmm.
details. I love details. So, but it was terrifying because no one ever told me I could write, or that
Mm-hmm.
that I could actually write. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, that was terrifying.
Yeah. I know when I started this podcast, like, don't ever listen to the first 10 episodes because they're really bad. But it's the same thing. It's like,
I
this
doubt
is
it.
gonna be a this is gonna be a train wreck. It's really no, totally cringe, like cringe with a capital C. So bad.
No.
Don't I understand now why people who have long lasting podcasts, they just erase the first like 5 years or whatever, like the first year. They only archive a few episodes and the rest are like,
Oh,
yeah,
I
we have
didn't
two.
know that. I didn't know
Mm,
that people did that.
yeah, they do.
Even,
It's
even TikTokers, like I have to start putting myself out there and I'm like, oh, like
mm,
maybe it's because I'm almost 35 and it just feels really weird. But there's some people that are just naturals at,
for sure.
just stepping in front of a camera, they can do it. I'm like, I need
Mm-hmm.
an anxiety pill, maybe like a shot of vodka or something. I'm like, God, I haven't done that in forever, but
Mm-hmm.
so like
Mm-hmm.
that's intimidating.
Yeah. TikTok intimidates me too.
Yeah.
Instagram is like, it's comfy, right? I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. I'm like, I'll show my face once in a while. It'll be
Yeah.
like a full moon or something like that, like once a month or whatever it is. You'll see my face, and then I'll disappear.
Yeah. Well, it's okay. All right. I could just talk about that kind of stuff all day. Do you have a creative challenge for our listeners after hearing about your book and everything that you're doing?
Yes, actually, if like to go back to what you were saying, like if there's something that's been like speaking to you or calling to you, or you want to try something but you're nervous, um spend like 30 minutes just trying it. Just try, or like an hour. Give yourself an hour and just start whatever. If you want to write, if you want to paint, just give yourself that opportunity just to try, because sometimes I know from talking to people, just getting to that computer, to that blank page is like too much.
Mm-hmm.
It feels really scary, and that fear is always going to be there. Like I said, it
Mm-hmm.
will go away the more you practice, the more you like dedicate your time to something. And don't beat yourself up. That's the other thing. If you do start something, say for instance you write a book or you want to paint, but it's a huge painting, and it's going to
Mm-hmm.
take a full, however many hours, like I don't know what, like 40 hours to like do this painting, and spend 2 weeks since you touched the thing. Don't beat yourself up. Give yourself some grace. You needed that
Mm-hmm.
time, and then just plan another time to get back to it, and
Mm-hmm.
touch base with it, and check in on yourself. If there's something that you really want to do, if there's multiple things you want to do and you're afraid of failing, failing only creates growth. That is the one thing I've learned. um, don't ever be afraid to fail, because everything I have done, literally up until like since I graduated from college, everything I've done is a new skill that I've gained that has gotten me here. So
Mm-hmm.
that's another
Oh, I
thing.
love that.
So try it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. If it
Mm-hmm.
fails, that's fine. I mean, I don't think anything really fails. It's just didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out, or it's
Like
you
a
got to put a
test.
pause on it. Yeah, it's like a
Yeah.
test. And then that's just more growth for you as a person. So
Mm-hmm.
that would be definitely something I would tell
Oh,
the
I love
community.
that. Thanks for sharing that. That's so good. And I will say with my experience that all of that is so true, that all of these experiences will build you and create you and set you up for what's coming next. And
Absolutely.
I've definitely had some failures or some experiments that have not worked out. And I think that it's just a way of looking at it. It's that's the part where a lot of people will quit, right? Where they try something and it doesn't work, but it's all about kind of learning from it and moving forward. So I love that. That's so good. Well, thank you so much, Shelby, for
You're
your
welcome. Thank
time, for
you.
chatting with me and the Grove Hollow series. It is so good. I'm still thinking about the characters. I'm still haunted by the story. For the pun. And it's really, it blew me away, Shelby. And I need to sit down and write some reviews for you because um, it's evident how much work and time you put into this and love and care and how you've created this world. And I just applaud you for all of the things you've
Thank you.
accomplished here. And I just wish you only the best. And
Thank
I really
you.
feel like this is just the beginning for you. So excited for you. And I hope everyone goes to check out your book and your different pages and your socials. And definitely the Grove Hollow page on Instagram is so fun to watch and will pique your interest even more. So, yes, thank you so much. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's been awesome.
Yeah, and we'll have to have you back on the show again and we'll catch up and we'll talk about the next book coming out. So, thank you again
Yes.
so much. I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much for listening and go check out Shelby and her book. And we will be here next week on another episode of I Like Art Podcast. Thanks so much again. Have a great day. Bye.